Bye. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. All right. So let us turn to page number, the chart. So which is on page number 309, please. Item number 7. Right. Mutuality condition. Are we there? All right. Mutuality condition. Now, what is mutuality condition? We discussed, I think, we went over mutuality condition, the definition, I think, last time, isn't it? So the condition, the definition of mutuality condition, if we are to turn to page number 317, verse number 21, the mutuality condition. Here we go. Mutuality condition. The mutuality condition is threefold. Consciousness and mental factors are a condition for one another. The four great essentials for one another. The heart base and resultant mental aggregates for one another at the moment of rebirth linking. Mutuality condition. Guide. Is actually a subordinate type of connaissance condition. In the general connaissance condition, the conditioning state simply causes the conditioned state to arise together with itself. But no reciprocity in the conditioning force is required. However, in the mutuality condition, each of the conditioning states is, at the time and in the same way, a conditioned state in relation to the very states that it conditions. Thus, a conditioning state in the relation of mutuality gives its force to the conditioned state and also receives the force of the conditioned state, which is a conditioned state relative to itself. This is compared to a tripod, each leg of which assists the other two legs reciprocally in enabling the tripod to stand upright. So mutuality condition then insists on a definition where chittas and chetasikas support one another in the process of its arising and it being. The four Mahabhutas supports its arising and its process of being. Yes, Devika.
Bhante, I think we did that, and we are now on the nutriment condition thing that we have to do.
Okay.
No, excuse me, Bhante. I think it's the support because the page on Lady Seado's book, we were doing Nissaya Pacha. We were reading part from that. I just want to mention that to you.
Thank you. But it's fine. Now that we started, let's just go on.
Okay, Bhante.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Right. So the mutuality condition speaks of an instance where it says that it is a subordinate type of connaissance condition. And connaissance, we would find even in Nisaya Pacha, it would talk about a similar state where there is a part and factor of the connaissance aggregate coming into this. Why? Because of the fact of sahajata, ekata uppattiyak labana hetuwe, right? So, however, in Sahajata Pacha, we do not specifically talk about a reciprocal relationship or reciprocal support, not support, I'm sorry, a relationship which supports the arising, of these attributes, which mutuality condition does speak about. So that is important to note, right? That is important to note. Let us go back to the chart now. So then we would find in mutuality condition, the chittas and the chetasikas at rebirth and existence would support the arising of 89 chittas and chetasikas mutually. Whilst at the time, what that means is at the time, because of chittas and chetasikas arises chittas and chetasikas, right? These two become mutually conditioned. At the same time, the chittas and chetasikas which arise as conditioned state mutually conditions and or supports one another as well, right? Then we have the four great essentials, which we spoke about, how that relationship is, because without one of the great essentials being existent, it is impossible for the others to be as well. Thereby, we find a state of mutual conditioning in operation in this instant as well. So, four great essentials giving rise, conditioning the arising of the four great essentials as conditioned states mutually. So four great essentials giving rise to the four great essentials, and at that moment, the four great essentials support the four great essentials at that time as well, in the same way that the chittas and chetasikas conducted its own affairs, right? Then we have, at the moment of rebirth, we have 6C. So 6C is this one here, which is the heart base supported by the four mental aggregates. The four mental aggregates and the heart base gives rise to the mental aggregates and the heart base there as well, showing a relationship of mutuality, right? Of mutuality there. Any questions? I think we did sort of discuss how the heart base and the mental aggregates are connected, isn't it? Last week, right? So do we need any further explanation on that? If anyone can sort of unmute themselves or put their hands up. All right. Can we move on? All right. Support. Nisaya. Support condition. Support condition. Page number 318. Here we go. 318. Support condition. Nisaya Pachaya. The support condition is threefold. Consciousness and mental factors are a condition for one another, and connascent material phenomena, the four great essentials, for one another, and derived material phenomena, and the six bases for the seven consciousness elements, right? Guide, support condition. is a condition where the conditioning state causes the conditioned state to arise by serving as the support or foundation on which they depend. Would you like me to increase the zoom it a bit? Would that help you see more? Would that help? Yeah, of course it would. Sorry about that. I apologize. No. Yes, Delight. Yes, Sujata.
It's a little too big for me, Bhante.
It's good. It's good.
A little too big.
No, I've never heard that complaint before. Okay.
I can see. Thank you very much. That's fine.
Wonderful. Right.
Bhante, why do you say 7 conscious elements?
Yes, we will come to that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And Bhante, in this other book that you told us, sometimes the heart basis is also called the basis of mind. It's the same thing, isn't it? In this book that, what is the Manual of Dhamma, they call it on rebirth and the basis of mind.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
if you go to the chapter on the heart base, which he has a different sect on, he has a rather unorthodox explanation for the mind. Hence, there's a different way to sort of refer to it, which is also interesting if you would like to read it.
yeah. Thank you, Bhante.
All right. Now, coming back, support, guide, is a condition where the conditioning state causes the conditioned states to arise by serving as a support or foundation on which they depend. Right? States to arise by serving as support or foundation on which they depend. The conditioning state is said to be related to the conditioned state in a manner similar to the way the earth supports the trees and vegetation, or a canvas supports a painting, right? Which is very clear. 2 main categories. Pushpa, would you like to say something? Mistake, all right. Oh, not a mistake. Sorry, Pushpa, I muted you. Would you unmute yourself, please, if you want to say something? Pushpa, do you want to say anything? All right, I guess not. Okay. 2 main categories of support condition are recognized. 1, connascent support, sahajata nisaya, and pre-nascent support, pure jata nisaya. Right? Sahajata nisaya, pure jata nisaya. Sahajata vashen upakara vimai, pure jata. Kaling upadiya vashen upakara vimai. Right? Connascent support condition is identical in all respect with connascent condition. Right? With connascent condition. Pre-nascent support condition includes 2 subsidiary types. Right? So let's take the first one. Connascence condition. Sahajata nisaya. How does sahajata nisaya, or being sahajata, how does it support? How does it support? Would one of you like to sort of answer that? Sahajata vashi. Lettuce, would you like to have a go, please?
Bhante, the Chittas and the Chetasikas, they are born together simultaneously, but there is some dependence on each other. So that's why.
Yes, there is some dependence on each other. Could you speak about this dependence? What kind of dependence is there? what you essentially could go into is, for example, if we take a simple consciousness, and we know, as we have gone through in the section, in the Pre-Nascents section, as I remember, was it the Pre-Nascents section? The Sampayoga and the Sampayoga and the Sangra. The Sampayoga and the Sangra techniques elucidate a connection where the chittas are given sort of life in a way, isn't it? Through the chetasikas, right? A sense of identity in a way, right? A sense of uniqueness brought in through the chetasikas. So here then we know those phenomena that arise as sahajata allow those phenomena to maintain or develop the identity that it does. In that way, it is sahajata nisaya. Is that understood?
Yes.
Yeah. Is that clear, everyone? Now, chittas and chetasikas, they arise together, right? Ekalambana, ekuppada, ekalambana. We know these characteristics. Now, as they arise together, now we are talking now, that is sahajata. Otukuta. Then, what is nisaya? Nisaya is then the support. Now, when we talk about an essential position of mind, we are talking about a mix of both chitta and a unique signature brought in through the chetasikas. That identity of the consciousness is then able to perform whatever function that it does, right? A consciousness is unable to be the consciousness without the support of the chetasikas. The chetasikas are unable to be the chetasikas and perform its function without the consciousness, the chittas, right? So how does it support one another? By arising together itself. That is why under sahajata nisaya, we are talking about the support element, but it is also referred to as the same as connascent condition. Do you get it? Yeah.
Yeah.
The fact that it arises together itself is a support. Why? Because that is what allows the chittas to do what the chittas do, the chetasikas to do what the chetasikas do. Do you understand, everyone? Is that clear? How then sahajata pachya in this regard is also related to as sahajata nisaya. Is that clear? Anyone has any questions? Does anyone have any questions? Yes, no, lettuce. Not lettuce. Is that clear to everyone? Hemamali?
Yes, Bhante, it's clear.
Yeah. All right. Shall we then move on to pre-nascents? Dil, how are you? Dil can't hear you.
I'm not very clear because in Sahajata we say they rise together mutually, right? So here we are again saying the same thing. We say Pacha, we are saying they rise together. Therefore, it's a support. So you're just adding the word, just it's a support. But both of Sahajata is, they're mutually arising together. And now you're saying it rising together, but with the support, right? So I'm not very clear. The words are there, but I don't in my mind really know what you're saying, Bhante. I understand your words.
Okay, think about it like this, Dil. Okay, you're the mother of the house. Right? You are the mother. But you're also the main cook of the house and the main cleaner of the house. And the chief whip of the house.
Okay. I wish I was, but okay, Bhante, go on. Right.
Now you see how that makes sense, right? Yes, we are speaking about one specific, here, of course, we are speaking about you. We dub you for For example, Sahajata under the Sahajata Pachaya, all those Dhammas under the Sahajata Pachaya, right? Those Sahajata Pachayas can, although they are known as Sahajata Pachaya, in other ways they also perform or give way for other supports. That is what is said. In the same way that you are the mother, you are the main cook, you are the main, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Right? In the same manner. Right? So whilst those categories of Dhamma that we have already gone through in Sahajata Pachaya, those Dhammas being present also is able to be the support for something. That is why, and how does it become support is then the question. That is how then Sahajata comes into Sahajata Nisaya, right? Which is the fact that it arises together itself is a support. What if, so let's take the other extreme. What if Chittas and Chetasikas did not arise together? That would inherently change the whole sort of equation of what function or what performance the Chittas and Chetasikas could do, isn't it? There is no other alternative, right? That is the exact reason why.
They mutually arise together, but also each of those conditions that come under that, they support each other as well to rise together.
The fact that they arise together is the
Sorry, say that again, Bhante. The fact
itself. The fact that it arises together is the support itself.
Okay, ma'am.
Right? Is the support itself. Because it arises together, that is how the Chittas and Chetasikas can continue to perform the function that it does. If it doesn't, then it changes everything. Got it?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Is that clear, everyone? Yeah.
Bhante, Jill raised this question before the 7 consciousness elements. Are they Chakkusotagana, Jivha, Kaya, and mind consciousness and mind element?
Yes, it is.
Those 7, yeah?
Those 7. Right? Those 7, and we come to deduce all of those categories into those 7, isn't it? We've done it already. Right? Because those are the ways by which the support is further sort of maintained. Right? Further maintained for the functioning of this being. For the functioning of this being. Yes? Yes, Devika.
Ante, I wasn't going to say anything, but this 7 consciousness elements are in page 146.
Okay. Okay.
Of the Abhidhamma book. It shows.
We'll come to it in a bit, right? We'll come to it in a bit. What was the page again? 146.
146 in Abhidhamma book.
Right. So now, if we go into, for now, let's go into pre-nascents condition, right? Let's go into pre-nascents condition. Now, Sahajata Nisaya is clear to everyone, right? How Sahajata Pachaya can also be Sahajata Nisaya. It's clear, I hope, right? Okay. Now, pre-nascents condition. Pre-nascents condition speaks about how something that arose in the past can support this moment. Do you understand? Right? Something, a phenomena that arose in the past supports this moment. Let's now read that. Pre-nascents condition. Pure Jata Nisaya. Pure Jata Nisaya. Connascent support condition is identical in all respects with the connascence condition. With the connascence condition. Pre-nascent support condition includes two subsidiary types. One is simple base pre-nascent support. Vattu pure jata nissaya. Simple base pre-nascent support. Vattu pure jata nissaya. Which is identical with base pre-nascence. Which is identical with base pre-nascence. The other is called object, which is identical with base pre-nascence, discussed under pre-nascence condition. The other is called base object pre-nascence support. Vatta rammana pure jata nissaya. This refers to the special case when a chitta arises supported by the heart base. A chitta arises supported by the heart base. By the heart base. And at the same time makes the heart base as its object. We spoke about this, which is a specific part in meditation as well. Thus, on such an occasion, the heart base simultaneously a support and an object for a single chitta. A support and an object for a single chitta. Referring to this condition, the Patthana states, one contemplates with insight that internal base as impermanent, suffering, and non-self. One enjoys it, delights in it, and making it an object, lust arises. Wrong view arises, doubt arises, restlessness arises, displeasure arises. Displeasure arises. Right? Again, the Patthana states, one contemplates with insight an internal base as impermanent, suffering, non-self. One enjoys it and delights in it, making it an object. Lust arises, wrong view arises, doubt arises, restlessness arises, displeasure arises. Now, let's go to pre-nascence. Does anyone know where the pre-nascence page is? Presence, disappearance, disassociation.
314.
314. Thank you, dear. Right, here it is. Pre-nascence condition is a condition where a conditioning state, a material state which has already arisen and reached a state of presence, sthiti, causes mental states. Again, is a condition where a conditioning state, a material state that has already arisen and reached the stage of presence, causes mental states. What is that? A material state which has already arisen and reached the stage of presence. We are speaking about the maturation of a material object. Remember, Chakkudwara Chitta Viti, a material object which impinges on the sensory bases, takes a time of one mind moment to mature enough for it to now affect the mental continuum. Right? Is that clear, everyone? Do we remember that section of the Chitta Viti? Everyone? Matagada? Lamai matagada?
Bhante, yes.
All right. Right. Causes mental states. Causes mental states. Right? Causes mental states, referring to that position where the object is now powerful enough to impinge, causes mental states, the bhavanga, bhavanga chalana, bhavanga upacheda. The conditioned states to arise after it. This is like the sun, which arises first in the world and gives light to people who appear after it has arisen. Again, this is like the sun, which arises first in the world and gives light to people who appear after it has arisen. Okay. There are two main types of pre-nascence condition. Two main types of pre-nascence condition. One, base pre-nascence, vattu jata, and object pre-nascence, arammana pure jata, vattu pure jata, arammana pure jata. One, each of the 6 physical bases during the course of existence is a conditioning state by way of base pre-nascence for the chitta and cetasika. Chitta and cetasikas, the conditioned states that take it as material support for their arising, that take it as material support for their arising. Again, each of the 6 physical bases during the course of existence is a conditioning state by way of base pre-nascence for the chitta and the cetasikas, for the chitta and the cetasikas. The conditioned states that take it as material support for their arising. Is that clear? Prasada rupyan tibina hetuin, prasada rupyange shaktiya hetuin tamai dharma hatagan. Dharma kila kiyane chitta sa cetasika. Those respective chittas and cetasikas takes a specific base as support for its arising. Without that base, those chittas and cetasikas can't arise, even if the karmic support or karmic energy is present. Although we have the karma to see, for the chakku prasada to work as ahetuka dhammas, if the physical base isn't present, we are unable to actually see, right? But because that material base is present, that respective material base is present, now we are able to see, hear, smell, taste, feel, and also by impingement or the collection of, as we said, data yesterday, right? We are able to remember and do all of these things to the mind element as well, right? Through the mind element as well. These are that take it as material support for their arising, that take it as material support for their arising. Now, this is again what then Lady Sayadaw says, just as, for example, the chittas can arise, consciousness can arise in 7 different places. Chakku, Sota, Gana, Jibha, Kaya, Mano. Chakku, Sota, Gana, Jibha, Kaya. 6 different places. In the same way that the consciousness takes as material support the chakku pasada, the sota, gana, jivha, kaya pasada, in a similar fashion, it takes the heart, core, base as support for the arising of mind, which is not operating off the support of the rest of the bases. So anything which is not arising because of impingement to the other prasada rupas, the mind in this position takes as base, as support, the what we say, the Hade Vastu. Right? So that again, you will find that in Lady Sayadaw's book. Right? The heart base is not a pre-nascence condition for mental states at the moment of rebirth linking. Since on that occasion, the heart base and the mental states arise simultaneously as connascent and mutuality conditions. Right? As mutuality conditions. Now, what we are talking is about Pure Jata. About Vattu Pure Jata, to be more specific. Pure Jata, whenever you hear pre-nascence or Pure Jata, right, whatever that has arisen before supports the arising of what is now. Right? What he says here is, at the moment of rebirth, heart base is not pre-nascence because the heart base and mental states arise simultaneously, not followed by one another. At the moment of rebirth, right? At the moment of rebirth. But the heart base arisen at the rebirth moment becomes a pre-nascence condition for the first bhavanga chitta immediately following the rebirth consciousness. Okay, again, but the heart base arisen at the rebirth moment becomes a pre-nascence condition for the first bhavanga chitta immediately following the rebirth consciousness. Okay, it is talking about two different instances, which is the first being where heart base is not of pre-nascence, where they simultaneously arise for the first time together. The mind, Chittaviti, following the rebirth consciousness, now at that instance, heart base becomes pre-nascent, a part of pre-nascence condition, because heart base, because of the existence of the heart base, the bhavanga can now arise. Is that clear, everyone? Right? The Chittaviti of rebirth is at the end of Prakinnaka? Is it at the end of Prakinnaka? Or is it at Chittaviti? I think it's at the end of Chittaviti, probably. Chittaviti, right? At the end of the chapter, you find that Chittaviti there, under death, I think. Yeah, under death. Now, heart base is not a pre-nascence condition for the mental state at the moment of rebirth linking, since on the occasion, the heart base and the mental states arise simultaneously as connascent and mutuality conditions. But heart base risen at the rebirth moment, but the heart base risen at the rebirth moment becomes a pre-nascence condition for the first bhavanga chitta immediately following the rebirth consciousness. And thereafter, it becomes pre-nascence condition for all mind element and mind consciousness element chittas during the course of life. During the course of life, which means because of the existence, because the chitta arises taking or with the support of Hade Vastu, all mind element and mind consciousness element chittas during the course of life have heart base as pre-nascent. Is that clear, everyone? Have heart base as pre-nascent, but not at the initial time of rebirth. Not at the time of rebirth, because heart base and mental states arises together. Karmaja. Right? All right. The second.
In this sentence, it says mind element and mind consciousness element.
Yeah.
And it says mind element is when it comes to, we'll say, chakku vinyana, chakku, any object coming into the chakku prasada, right? Initially, it's worked as a mind element, because mind element is actually either panchadvarajana or sampatichana.
Yeah.
Right? In that case, a mind element is actually, the mind doesn't know what is in the object.
Yeah.
Right? That's why it's called mind element. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when it comes to mind consciousness element, then mind knows exactly what's in the object. That's after the chakku vinyana.
Okay. Correct. But let us is because the mind knows the object only because of the fact of memory.
Chakku vinyana.
No, let's take it like
immediately after chakku vinyana, the mind knows anything about the sorry, not immediately after. Santirana also doesn't know. No, Sampatichana doesn't know the details about object, but Sampatichana doesn't know, but Santirana knows.
Right. Now, okay, consciousness element, right? Consciousness in any case, what you're saying is correct, Dhamma, right?
Yeah.
Correct. However, when we must sort of cut away any point we might possibly misunderstand is that some sort of identity of the object is known, not that the object is known.
Yes. Yeah, it's the same words. Yeah. Example I thought was actually, I was discussing this with Mala. When a postman delivers a letter, we take the letter, but we don't know what's inside the letter. So it's just identification of object. So once we open the letter, then only we know the detail about the object. So that's after Sampatichana.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yes, but also no. Because you see, okay, because I guess because we've come into this stage, of course, this would be spot on if we are at Chetasika or Chittaviti chapter.
Yeah.
But I guess as we have now progressed with all the things that we have discussed, we can sort of go into more realistic understanding of what that image at that moment is. Now, what Dhamma says is true, right? However, the distinctiveness of knowing the object must be clarified. At any moment in mind, the mind does not specifically know or have a full picture of the object. Right? The mind operates in flashes almost. The mind's inherent function, which we will come into through the Patthana, puts the images of the flashes together, which at the end would help us to, with all the little nitty-gritties, Karuda, Sududa, Mahatada, Usada, all of these little, nitty-gritties, little flashes of data collected. So the mind's inherent function of memory right? Data which is passed on because it arose in the future, this data which passed on is the only way that we put information together. But one mind does not really know an object, right? So that is why I said yes, but also not so.
No, yeah.
You know?
Okay, yeah.
Right. So so really at the end, because of what is the Pachaya Damsiri? What is it Asevana Pachaya?
No, even you can consider the Sahajata. Sorry. Yeah. No, Purejata. Purejata, because when it comes to well, say when it comes to Pancha Dwarajana,
Okay.
you are actually, when the object is already there,
Impinged, yeah.
or because it's already impinged, and you terminate all bhavanga. So that's also part of the Purejata.
Yes. But the thing is there, why can't we take Purejata? I feel like Purejata in that case scenario where, because I feel like it is Asevana, which we have not.
Asevana also.
But because Purejata is talking about an element that has already arisen. So yes, Mano Purejata Vashen Gan.
Yeah. Manodat Vashen Gatama.
Manodat
Vashen Gatama, it's already occurred.
Manoda, let's look at the chart.
Yeah.
Let's look at the chart. What does it say? What is the page of the chart, please? 314. Chamari, you wanted to say something, Chamari?
Yes, Bhante. So the triple mind, why that is not recognizing the object fully, is actually given on page 146, because it's got a very weak grasp of the object, because you are going from one type of base to another. You're going from the heart base with the bhavanga into maybe the eye consciousness, or the base of the eye, or base of the ear. So that's one of the reasons why it's saying, because it encounters an utterly novel object, and it's followed by a chitta with a different base.
Yeah.
So it's got too much going on there for the object to be quite clear.
Yeah, it's exactly what we are talking about. Yeah.
Okay. Purejata Hari. Purejata taken as object of the same. So if we just look at the chart for a moment, let me just go on the chart here. All right, here. Support, number 8. So what we were talking about in terms of the mind not knowing or not having the full picture of the object, but at the same time having a specific understanding, specific, like what now Chamri said out of one page number 100. What page, Chamri? 140?
146.
146. You know, the fact that it shifts between the different bases to develop a grasping of the object, because we know if we, for example, smell a flower or see a flower, we might understand what the flower specifically is through its smell or feel or whatever it is, right? So in the same manner, now what we are then sort of questioning is it under Purejata Pachaya or Asevana Pachaya? Asevana we have not yet done, but now base condition and base object condition. Base condition, during existence, 6 material bases, and condition state is in 5 aggregate plane, 85 chittas, excluding of course the immaterial sphere, right? Resultants, and the 52 chittasikas. Mindo adverting 28. Sorry, not that. In 5 aggregate plane, 85 chittas, excluding four immaterial resultants, and 52, and their corresponding 52 chetasikas, right? Corresponding 52 chetasikas. During existence, 6 material bases. Going on to base object condition, the hard base taken as object at the same time, Chitra and Chetasika supports the base. At the same time, Chitra and Chetasika supports the base. So Dhamsiri,
Yeah.
how can we then take Pure Jata for that?
Because by the time when you have Panchadvarajana, right, you have already mind element is active.
Mind element is active.
Yeah, because mind element is the Dhamma that create the Bhavanga to terminate. Yeah.
Bhavanga, okay, but what if we are talking not about the Bhavanga? What if we are talking about, let's say, the Javanas?
No, that Javana is different now because
In terms
Purejata in this particular one, I think we read somewhere. Actually, I can't remember the exact location. Actually, I was looking for the real meaning of mind element. And in that one, I found that actually mind element is the sort of a predefined condition of your object. So when it comes to, remember that then you have a Chakku Viññānaya. Even after Chakku Viññānaya, you have mind element. Right? You clarify, you get the details in Sampatichana. Not Santirana. Because triple element is Panchadvarana and Sampatichana. So even after the eye consciousness, still your next one is still mind element. Yes. No, after Mano Viññāna you have, then you what's after that? What is it? It's a Sampatichana. Sorry, Santirana. So Santirana is also mind element. Yeah.
It's investigating.
Yeah, that investigating, because investigating is still, when you do the investigation, it's a mind element. No?
Mind element is only three, Panchadvara, Vajana and Sampatichana.
Okay, Sampatichana, yeah. No, it's not Santirana, Sampatichana. Sampatichana comes after eye consciousness. Oh.
Yes, that's right. After the eye consciousness only, Sampatichana comes to receive.
Yeah. So that means even after eye consciousness, you have mind element.
Yeah. How, but Dhamsiri, we were talking about something else, wasn't it? In terms of, we were talking about a law which helps in the process of putting this information together. That means at the moment of dissolution, where that essence is then taken as object for the next moment of arising, right? In Purejata Pachaya or Nissaya Pachaya, when we take the pre-nascent support, the pre-nascent support is speaking about conditions existing earlier.
Yeah, already existing conditions. So then pre-nascence condition
is talking about base and base object. So it is not really talking about the phenomena it is talking about the base which it takes or supports being present. It supports the next moment. But what we are talking about is a passing on of essence. Shall we just make a note of it? Let's come to discuss this again.
Yeah.
Asevana Pachya.
Yeah, when we do the Asevana Pachya, we'll.
Because I feel like in this section, we are speaking specifically about the bases. Right?
Okay.
Whereas what we are then saying is now, one base does the base does not affect the future base. That doesn't happen. Which we take an understanding from, right? However, because the base is present now, then the Chakku Vinyana, Sota Vinyana, Gana Vinyana can arise afterwards, right? Arise afterwards. The heart base, it says here on page number 314, under Pre-Nascents condition, the heart, each of the 6 physical bases during the course of existence is a conditioning state by way of base pre-nascence for the Chitta and Chetasikas. So because the base is present, the 6 sense bases being present, it acts as a form of base pre-nascence for Chittas and Chetasikas, the conditioned states that arise based upon it. Right?
Okay.
Second section. But what we were talking about, right? Essentially that moment where now the Chitta falls away, but that Chitta that falls away doesn't completely fall away, but an essence is maintained. That essence is taken to as a support for the next Chitta to arise in its same sort of essence, really, or same spirit. For example, Dosa Chitta followed by Dosa Chitta. Right? That is not to do with the base, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can't really take it under Pure Jata, Vattu Pure Jata, and Vatta Rammana Pure Jata. So maybe let's just make a note of it and come back. Once we could have discussed Asevana Pachya and see how it would fit on either one.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
All right. Now,
Bhante, can you please, that section 9 support, can you just go through the condition state? So it says in the 5 aggregate planes, the 85 chittas excluding the 4 immaterial resultants, and it says the 52 chetasikas and the mind of adverting. Then that 29 is sensory jhavanas. What is Essex jhana?
One moment, Dil, we did not finish that paragraph as yet.
Okay.
Go back to that and then come back.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Bhante. Sorry.
314. Right. Prenatal. Let's start with the second one. Right. So this is then the second one is Arammana Pure Jata. Right. Object pre-nascence. Each of the 5 sense object is a conditioning state by way of object pre-nascence. Each of the 5 sense objects is a conditioning state by way of object pre-nascence for the Chittas and Chetasikas in a sense to cognitive process that take it as object. Right? That take it as object. If we just compare that with this, right? Each of the 6 physical bases during the course of existence is a conditioning state by way of base pre-nascence for Chitta and Chetasikas, the conditioned states. Here, each of the 5 sense objects, right, is a conditioning state by way of object pre-nascence for Chittas and Chetasikas in a sense-to cognitive process that takes it as an object. That is understood, right? Right? Where if there's Chakkarammana, right? Sota Ramana, Gana Ramana, Jibha Ramana, Pottabha Ramana, the chittas and the chetikas that are going to arise in that process would arise respective of the Aramana that or the object that arose, isn't it? Thus, thus object pre-nascents.
Yeah.
In addition, all 18 types of concretely produced matter, in addition, all 18 types of concretely produced matter that have reached a stage of presence, same thing that we spoke about earlier, maturation of a material object, that have reached a stage of presence, titi, can become object pre-nascence condition for chittas and chetasikas in a mind-o process. That also we already know. Right? That is simply saying that when an upadaya rupa has arisen and that upadaya rupa is taken as object, the upadaya rupa, when it has reached a stage of presence, meaning that it has matured enough as an object to now create a sense of change in the mind, that can also become object pre-nascence condition for chittas and chetasikas in a mind-o process. Right? In a mind-o process. Right? For example, the words that we speak, right? The vinyana, the vachi vinyati, which is the upadaya rupa, can be taken as an object, and based upon that vachi vinyati, the chittas and chetasikas might arise. Right? But then the question appears, any questions? Shall we slow down a bit? Is that Bhante, go home කියලා මටත් එවයි දන්න පස්සේ. Right. Then what I would then ask again, let's read it again, right? Second one. Each of the 5 sense objects is a conditioning state by way of object pre-nascence for chittas and chetasikas in a sense-to cognitive process. Panchadvara vajana, when it comes to a Panchadvara vajana viti, the 5 sense object becomes a conditioning state by way of object pre-nascence. Object pre-nascence Vattarammana Pure Jata for chittas and chetasikas, in a Panchadvara Vajana Viti. Understood? When it comes to a Panchadvara Vajana Viti, the 5 sense objects, what are the respective, out of the 5 sense objects, right? The respective 5 sense to object becomes Vattarammana Pure Jata in supporting or in conditioning the chittas and chetasikas that arise. We understand that, we know that, right? In addition, Dhamsiri, you want to say something?
Yeah, I think it's not Vattarammana. It's the Arammana.
Sorry, Arammana Pure Jata.
Yeah.
Arammana Pure Jata.
Arammana Pure Jata.
In addition, all 18 types of concretely produced matter, right? All 18 types of concretely produced matter that have reached a stage of presence, that have, now this is important, the matter has arisen and it has also reached a stage of presence. What does that mean? What is that scenario, everyone? Derived, concretely produced matter. Concrete produced matter has arisen, right? That have reached a stage of presence. Now, what are the concretely produced matter? Hemamali?
Yes, Bhante, that is earth element, water element, fire element. Have I to tell all the 14? Yeah. Okay. Eye sensitivity, ear sensitivity, nose sensitivity, tongue sensitivity, body sensitivity. Then the visible form, sound, smell, taste. Then the bhava, femininity and masculinity, heart phenomena, heart base, life faculty, and the nutriment.
And the nutriment.
Yeah. What do you mean, Bhante? At that moment when it's become the meditative object.
Exactly.
In presence, yeah.
Exactly, Hemamali.
Yeah.
Right. Now, because for example, nutriment can arise. Although it arises, we don't take note of it every time. Isn't it? Right? Any of what sort of Hemamali said at this moment, right? They can arise, but doesn't mean that we are aware of it. Remember, this is Arammana Purejat. Right? Arammana. Arumunak Vashen, api hamavileme e vastun api ganne naha. Although it arises. So this is speaking of an instance where we take it as an object. And once we take it as an object, it reaches a state of presence. Meaning it has now matured to a place where we can, or it can now condition chittas and chetasikas. That is what we are talking about. Is that clear, everyone? Right? Is that clear? Now, that have reached a stage of presence can become object pre-nascence condition for the chittas and chetasikas in a mindo process. In a mindo process. Right? When we take during meditation, right? During meditation, now let us say that we are doing, we are practicing, let's say Patavi, right? Hardness. Now, Patavi is something which is existent all the time, right? Even now, as we are sitting to participate in this class, there is a sense of hardness, isn't it? That we feel from the touch of the chair or where our arms and hands are resting, holding the pen, holding the book, there is a sense of hardness. However, do we take the hardness as object all the time? No, we don't. Right? We don't take it as object all the time. Right? This is not a question of whether the hardness, the Patavi Dhatu exists or not. This is not this type of question. The question is, Arammana Purejat. Arumunak. It has to be taken as object. When the Panchadvara Vajana takes that respective, right, takes that respective concretely produced matter as object, now that concretely produced, that respective concretely produced matter will reach a stage of presence. Will reach a stage of presence. When it does, it can condition the chittas and chetasikas. Do you understand? And if you had time to go over Lady Sayadaw's book, right? And also if we remind ourselves of how Arammana works, right? From Atimahanta Rammana, Mahanta Rammana, Paritta Rammana, Atiparitta Rammana, and Kuddhakaramana, Atikuddhakaramana, and Parittaramana, Atiparittaramana. If we take those classifications of Aramana, there was a question which was answered in that section as to how the intensity of the Aramana is determined. Isn't it? The intensity of the Aramana, right? And liking has a predominant role that it plays. Liking, the fact of embracing or the fact of welcoming, a fact of having a sense of warmth towards the object, can manipulate an object from being, for example, a Mahantarammana to a Atimahantarammana. Do you understand? Now, for example, let us say there is a person, right? There is a person, you know, just a simple person, just a person for you, right? You see the person, you don't really realize much about the person. You might say hi, you might say bye, that is it, right? Not that you have any anger or anything of that sort, you know, just a person. Then you have a really, really good friend, right? A beloved object, right? Now you realize whether she has straightened her hair or whether she has curled her hair or whether she has, her skin looks better or not, or what type of dress or whatever she's wearing. You realize all of these things about the person, isn't it? Right? These sort of differences, maybe something that wasn't there last week when you saw the person before. Now you see, right? This is explained in that chapter, right? Where there is a sense of commitment towards the object, right? And that has to be brought in to this position here as well, right? Because although a physicality exists, a materiality exists, doesn't mean that the materiality is taken as object all the time just because it simply exists. We are not sort of talking about materiality, we are talking about whatever which is taken as object, materiality that is taken as object. Do you understand? Is that clear? Depending on the intensity by which it is taken as object, whether it is the Atimahanta, Mahanta, and all of the rest, that would determine the chittas and chetasikas that come into mind to now interact with that object. Is that clear? Dhamma, I feel like you want to say something.
Yeah, it's when you remember something, right? When you remember a temple, right? So it's again the same process.
Yep.
So you actually, based on the image you have created previously, right? And then now you're creating new chitta and chaitasikas. So in that particular case also, the case of base object, base object pre-nascents. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's clearly say mind or process. Whenever you actually think something, or it's based on the previous object you are thinking about.
Has been taken.
Sorry?
The previous object that has been taken.
Taken, yes, yeah, yeah.
Right. So the object that is now brought to mind through that memory is taken as object.
Yeah.
And
that's an object, yes, yeah.
Is now sort of now going on to now being a conditioning factor for the conditioned states.
Yeah.
All right.
Chittas and chaitasikas, yeah.
And the chaitasikas.
Yeah.
Any questions there, anyone? Shall we move on to the chart? Right. Right. I mean, you know, in a way, you know, I mean, it is quite, it's quite awing in a certain way, how, for example, a religion can be like this, like, isn't it? It's not like we are really studying, something which is like Buddhism or something, it is quite sort of, interesting, very interesting and peculiar. All right. Now, support, Nisaya. Nisaya Pache can be two, connascence and pre-nascence, right? Connascence and pre-nascence. Connascence is the same as Sahajata Pache, right? Same as Sahajata Pache. So just let us go through Sahajata Pache again, which is number 6, which is both at existence and at rebirth, 89 chittas and 52 chetasikas, which support each other, and connascent materials, right, gives rise to Sahajata Venama, 89 chittas, 52 chetasikas supported by each other, and connascent material. Then we have the 4 great essentials, which support each other, and derived matter, also leading on to conditioned states of the 4 great essentials supported by each other and derived connascent matter. At the moment of rebirth in the 5 aggregate planes, for the 4 mental aggregates and the heart base, leading to the heart base supported by the mental aggregates also supported by the heart base on both sides, supporting one another, right? So that is connascence or Sahajata Nisaya, or connascence support. Now we have pre-nascent support. Pre-nascent support meaning something which has arisen earlier, now coming into support. Has 2, base pre-nascence and base object pre-nascence. Base pre-nascence and base object pre-nascence, right? Base pre-nascence is talking about the bases by which we take objects, right? The bases by which we take objects. Does everyone follow? Right? The bases by which we take the object, right? The base object pre-nascence is the object that is taken by the base. Do you understand? The object that is taken by the base. The base pre-nascence is the base that takes the object, and base object pre-nascence is the object that is taken by the base. Right? So the focus in A is the base, the focus in B is the object. Right? Let us look at A first, base pre-nascence. Sorry. During existence is the 6 material bases. 6 material bases, right? So all that can arise, conditioned, the conditioned states would have to be all that arise based off or supported by the 6 material bases. Naturally, we would have to take out everything to do with immaterial, which is not to do with the 6 physical bases, isn't it? Right? So in the 5 aggregate plane, we have 89 minus 4, which is 85 chittas. The 4 being the immaterial resultants, right? Immaterial resultants. Is that clear, everyone? And then 52 chetasikas, right? They are respective 52 chetasikas, right? They are respective 52 chetasikas. Is that clear? Right? That is clear. We only take out the 4 immaterial because it has nothing to do with the 6 bases simply, right? Then, so that is base pre-nascence. Because the base was present, these conditioned states could arise. So because the base is present, what is the base? The 6 material bases, in the 5 aggregate plane, 85 chittas without, which excluding the 4 immaterial chittas and their respective 52 chetasikas arose. Do you understand? That is on base pre-nascence. Because the base was present, a basic padanam karagana hatakata siulu dharma, a pure jata, no, yeah, pure jata vattu pure jata nisaya. Vattu pure jata nisaya. Right? That is vattu pure jata nisaya. Is that clear, everyone? Dil, are you okay? Oh, what happened? Oh. Here. Right.
No. Why do you add the vattu? I know it's by pure jata. Why do you put the vattu?
Because it's base.
Ah, vattu is base. Thank you, Bhante.
You just go to that page, page number, what was the page number, everyone? Of here, page number, yes, support condition, that is page number 318, right? We find Vattu Pure Jata Nisaya, that is base pre-nascent support, and the next one is going to be Vatta Rammana Pure Jata Nisaya.
That is the object.
Rammana is
with the object.
Vatta Rammana. So Vattu is base. Vatta Rammana means basic ganna armuna. Right? So what is taken as object by the base is Vatta Rammana in Pali. Right? So that is what we are going to here. B. Is that clear? Is it okay for me to move on? Chamri, did you want to say something?
Bhante, I think it says this refers to the special case. When a chitta arises supported by the heart base, so a chitta comes up, so the heart base is the base, it also is the object. That's why it is called base object pre-nascence.
Base object. Ah, yes. All right. Thank you, Chamri. Thank you. So it is the base as well as the object, right? Well as the object. Okay. Now, base object. Vatta Rammana Pure Jata Nisaya. Right? Vatta Rammana Pure Jata Nisaya. This is when the object having the heart base as a base arises the phenomena which is also taken as object. Which is also taken as object. Right? Which is also taken as object. So the phenomena that arises based upon the heart base could be, for example, we could even take the Patavi Kasina. Right? If we take the Patavi Kasina and go deeper, right? Go deeper with it. Go deeper with it. Or we could also take the Anapana Nimitta, right? Where then we contemplate on the impermanent suffering. Yes, the Anapana Nimitta would be a better example, where it arose out of the physical. It first started with the aid of the Panchadvara Vajana with Pottabba, right? With Pottabba. Now we have cultivated an understanding of the Anapana, right? Where it is now a mental object. That mental object arises from the heart base. And then when we go deeper with that, we go into the impermanent suffering and non-self existent within our being, which is then again directed towards the heart base itself. Is that clear, everyone? Is that clear? Is that
Bhante, can you please explain it. That means the subtle breath is the object. Yeah.
Correct.
And then
I'll explain.
Yeah, please.
First, we focus on the breath. We get to know the breath.
Yeah.
Know the breath fully, right? That breath becomes a mental object.
Yeah.
Mental object, right? Where now the physical breath disappears, but the mental object exists.
Yeah.
Right? That mental object, so earlier, it arose through the base.
Yes.
Right? It arose through the base, which allowed us to, for example, earlier, before the mental object appeared, we could class it under this one.
Yes, Bhante.
Right?
Yeah.
But then when our meditation cultivated and developed, it moves on to this one.
Yeah.
If the mental object of the breath is present, mental object of the breath arises through the heart base, or having the heart base as base.
Yes.
Right. Now, using that, we contemplate impermanent suffering and non-self, or the insights of impermanent suffering and non-self of the mentality, right? Of the mentality, right? So then the mental object in that instance arose with heart base as base, hade vastu as base, and through which we also take the same hade vastu as object. Right? We take the same hade vastu as object. Do you understand?
Yeah. But Bhante, that image we taken as impermanent, is it? But we have to consider as here you say impermanent thing. We have to the object is that subtle breath.
Well, the object becomes a subtle breath at a point at the. Okay, this is sutra class.
No, yeah, just that.
So at a point, what we then do at that point is, what do we do at that point? Okay, so shifting gears. Okay, so at that point, what we essentially do is, when the mind object appears, through that mind object, whilst we are watching that mind object, right, which is essentially now that process of the base, something which arose through that same base we take as object, then the insights that arise upon that object is impermanent suffering and non-self, or is concluding on the remarks of impermanent suffering and non-self. Do you understand, Hemali?
Yeah. Because actually maybe that we can't see that yet. Yeah. So I'm just asking Bhante. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. When we meditate, we will see it.
Yeah, it's an insight.
Yeah. We can't see now. Yeah. Okay, Bhante.
We can't instigate it.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Thank you, Bhante. Yeah.
All right. So then, what is that situation, or what are the conditioning and conditioned states at that position? Right. Heart base, taken as object of the same chittas and chaitikas, it supports the base, supports as base, right? Supports as base. The heart base, taken as object of the same chittas and chaitasikas, it supports as base, right? So taken as object, and it supports the base as well, right? In that attribute. Here, what arises? Mindo adverting. Why the Mindo adverting? Because it's manarammana, right? 29 sense-sphere jhavanas, right? 29 sense-sphere jhavanas. Why the 29 sense-sphere jhavanas? Because it is through those 29 sense-sphere jhavanas that we then sort of work out with that object, isn't it? Take that object, take that specific respective object as object, or the heart base as object? Do you think of anything else there with the 29 jhavanas? How else are we going to, because this is a process of essentially investigating into the object, interacting with the object, with the heart base, right? 11 registration consciousnesses, 44 chittas, excluding envy, avarice, worry, 3 abstinences, 2 illimitables, right? 3 abstinences, 2 illimitables. So envy, avarice, worry, because of dosa, the akusala, right? 3 abstinences, 2 illimitables. 3 abstinences and 2 illimitables. Why? What are the 3 abstinences? Hemamali? Can't hear you.
Bhante, it's Samma Ajiva, Samma Kammanta, and Samma Vacha.
Right. Right. Now, Samma Ajiva Kammanta Vacha. Why isn't it that the abstinences are here?
Bhante, because it's a Dhamma Ramana.
Correct.
You're not doing anything.
You're not doing anything. 2 illimitables also would be the same reason.
Yeah.
You're not doing anything, right? It is a position of, if we might say, something close to samadhi, in a presence of being, observing. You're not doing anything, right? Because of those reasons, we are taking out the 3 abstinences and the 2 illimitables, right? Taking their heart base as object. Is that clear, everyone? Is that clear? Right? Okay. So next week, we will go on to decisive support and then continue, right? All right. Okay. All right, everyone. Then I will see you tomorrow morning for our meditation. Tomorrow morning for our meditation. Take care and have a wonderful rest of the evening. Thank you.
Saranai Bhante. Thank you.